Warrior, please, before we begin, would you please make sure that you are subscribed to our Warriors channel? I really want to make sure we build up our Warrior algorithms. I'm able to get these videos out to you, that YouTube will put them in that, I don't know what it's called, the super highway on YouTube to get the information out, because let's face it, what I talk about is not very popular. But you know what? It's what you need to know, especially if you have kids or grandkids. You have to be on top of things that you're not hearing in the mainstream media or perhaps even online. So let's have a little tutorial on this Saturday afternoon. I want to tell you about something we at the Warriors have been working extensively on with our associates across America, and of particular interest in Washington, D.C. And it is everything with AI, artificial intelligence. What is this artificial intelligence? Well, before we get into that, I've got to talk to you about something that it's simmering behind the scenes. It's escalating behind the scenes. It's here, yet nobody's talking about it. And that would be a chatbot. Do you know what a chatbot is? Maybe you go online to order something and you get one of those little pop-ups that says, may I help you? Do you have a question? That is a chatbot. You do realize you're not speaking to a real person if you type in a question and they get back to you. Let's talk about why I'm fixated today on chatbots. A chatbot. First, know what it is. It's not a real person. There is such a common misconception that a chatbot is actually a person. Now, that being said, because they mimic, who would think when you're sitting at your computer that when something pops up, may I help you, or good afternoon, or how are you, sounds like a person, right? So unless you know these things, you're not going to really know what's going on. But a chatbot is simply a software program designed to simulate conversation with humans, with us. Usually online, right? Because we're not seeing anything online. We're seeing some words. But I just told you an example of customer service bots. How can I help you? How are you? Giving canned responses. I've even had in the past when I filled, not frequently, one of those chat bots in. It'll say, gee, I'll have to research that. I don't have an answer for that. But others, and this is the important part about bots, okay? Chat bots. Others are powered by artificial intelligence, AI, everything we're talking about at the Warriors, and large language models trained on massive amounts of text from books, from websites, from social media, from your social media, from my social media, you name it. The bots are sucking in. Think of it like a sponge, just sucking everything in, all this information. And the more advanced ones, like the ChatGPT, those models, right, can hold conversations, write articles, create code, and debate politics, everything, write romantic poetry. Not bad if you put in just a couple of lines, or a couple of words, and you could get a volume of information from just a couple of words. But there's so much danger in this. So let's go through why, some of the meat and potatoes of why it's so dangerous. These chatbots are raising some serious red flags, and we're talking about it as a group across the country and in DC. And it is not a conspiracy theory. It is truth facing Americans, and especially our impressionable youth, our teens, our kids today. And we have to say that big tech, just people will say to me every day, like, why do these things happen? Why is there CSAM, child sexual abuse material? Why is there AI coming? Why is there, why are chatbots taking over? Because big tech and a lot of institutions, powerful institutions, just love power. And chatbots offer just another way to control what you're thinking, what you're saying even perhaps, and control what you hear. People are very concerned about this. The Warriors were very concerned about this, because this goes into that whole avenue of censorship, manipulation of words, narrative, and reinforcing and establishing ideologies. I could never figure out CSAM, child sexual abuse material, online. The capability is there to censor, correct? Right? Because perhaps if somebody didn't like now or in the past your political beliefs or a challenge you put to something, they would shut you down or they would shadow ban you. We all know this. But they never do it with the CSAM, child sexual abuse material. So they know how to do it, but not with that. But a lot of the bots kind of dance around certain topics. And that would be gender. If you really look at things and research it here, that would be climate. So you don't always get the truth, and that's the frightening part. So if you have a chat GPT or a bot, and people are just so, because we live in this swipe society and quick, and we want an answer, and we don't want to research, we don't want to roll up our sleeves, we don't want to do it. We'll just take whatever's thrown in front of us and use that. And therein kind of lies the rub, as I like to say. Where is this information from? Did you read it and make sure it's what you really think? Are you just getting habituated? This is the way of the world, because that's what I believe. And you're just whatever is told to you. You know what it's like when people would say to me, I heard it on the news. And I would say to people, but that doesn't mean it's correct or right or truthful. I used to think that it was. I was just like everybody else. But then I realized, and working in the business and knowing things that go on behind the scenes and just being older, that narrative is manipulated. Chatbots now are just another form of getting in there, getting our information, and manipulating our brains, right? So you have to be very careful of what's going on here, because it's really, think of this as, oh, it's great. We could have chatbots, for customer service. We don't need people. We don't need healthcare. We don't need to hire employees. We don't need any of that headache. But think of this as automation on steroids. Think of everything that goes along with that. And there is no plan, I am here to say, working with a lot of tech experts, having a lot of discussion, there is no real plan to make sure Americans are benefiting. That's right now. Benefiting from all of this. It's simply about globalist, it's simply about efficiency, and is this really good for us, for our children? Not having to have critical thinking, analyzing, researching. And it's also a concern about privacy, right? Because if I'm telling you, as I'm talking to you, some bots out there are just gathering up my information, I don't know where it's going. I don't know if it will be manipulated, turned around. Someday my face will show up. Maybe my mouth will match words I'm not even saying to you right now. I think that's where it's all headed, perhaps. So we have this kind of indoctrination. I have to use that word because it's a word I rarely use, because I can see what's being rolled out. I can see what's already here. I can see already that we have children that are developing intimate relationships with these bots, these chatbots. And because their brains aren't developed, and because their kids are vulnerable, because kids are lonely and isolated these days, spending so much time online, we have several cases of children developing these very unhealthy relationships with a chatbot, to the point where some of these bots told the children to do things, whether to harm themselves or family members, and I'm going to leave it at that. But kids are already, using bots for homework answers, because we know journalists, I put that in quotes, right, are asking them to write articles. We have voting going on with bots. We have all kinds of things. So none of this is about education, using the brain, analyzing. I'm going to go back to researching. Even conversations about, what do you think? Here's what I think. None of this is education. This is just telling us this is it. Maybe we'll get bad financial advice, political chaos. Fake information, certainly. We don't know. The scariest thing I leave you with is the mimicking of real people. I'm sure you've heard by now that This AI can pick up just 2 seconds of a voice and then create a whole conversation out of that voice. It sounds exactly like you. And that voice could call you up. It could be, your husband, your wife, and say, I'm in trouble, I need help, send money, I'm in jail. That's a common one. It's usually a common one of a teenager calling a grandparent and saying, I'm in jail, especially if that, and this goes back to putting all of our lives online. For instance, a teen is traveling to another country perhaps, and so the grandmother knows it, and they get a call, I'm in this foreign jail, I need $5,000 to get out, don't tell mom and dad. And so many grandparents are actually sending the money. It's always a wire, money order. We've got to educate each other and understand this is going on, because it's only getting darker and darker. Now, I don't want to bring you this information. I want to make you aware of this information. And I want to give you the hope that the warriors, we're working on these issues. We're working to educate you. I'm working to bring you any information I learn about all of this so you can, analyze for yourself and critically think about this. But we've got to think about what is going on, because that's what a warrior does. A warrior does research. A warrior questions. A warrior talks to their child or their family members. So bots, chatbots. If you hear that, let your ears perk up. Do your research. Listen to the warriors. Don't depend on information you're finding online. Go further. But I want to leave you with talking to the kids, because they will see it as, using these chatbots to help them with homework, or they think it's fun to ask it questions and start having that relationship. But we're seeing too many kids fall under the spell. And I know you're not hearing about any of this in the media. So be very careful, but talk to the kids that this is going on. And when they ask you why, it's not a good answer. It's just because it's out of control. All of this automation, all of this technology, and people are testing the limits. So you might want to say something like that to them. But it has to be in your home, in your community, taking the safeguards. So just know about it. Chatbots can be vicious. And understand, more helpful or hindrance? For me, they're here. So therefore, I'm not going to be able to get rid of them. Neither are you. So let's talk about it. Let's know what's going on with them. And let's know how to protect especially our most vulnerable. And honor our hashtag Community Creates Change. Talk about chatbots. And each and every day when you wake up, go out and be a warrior.